Hello, Amp Guardians, and welcome to another Regent Ramas recording. I'm Regent Ramas, and you can't craft without coffee. Today, we're going to be looking at arrow design. Now, over the last number of years, the arrows at Western Winds have gone through a series of changes, and I just want to talk a little bit about that and then show you what I'm doing today. So the arrows that we have in Western Winds have gone through a couple of different iterations. And I've got a bunch of parts here laid out on my table for the arrows that I'm making. And I want to show you that most recently what we did is we went through this 3D printing phase where we would 3D print a base. The shaft of the arrow would go into the back of the base. And this actually has a fairly heavy flat surface up here. Onto that flat surface, we glue a layer of EVA foam, and then we glue the gamma ball, and this winds up being 2 inches of foam on top of the head, and then I just put a little safety foam around the outside of here and tape the thing on. It's just glued together using LePage's heavy-duty spray adhesive. This is what I use for pretty well everything. It's just a contact cement, and you spray it on both sides, give it a few seconds, and then away you go. So this was one iteration that happened not so long ago, and this is fairly common now in Western Winds. It's very, very safe. It's very safe. The ends are quite safe. They don't want to move around at all, and you know, even ricochets are not dangerous at all. Okay, so that's safety with arrows, of course, is the first and foremost. And then this one came out just shortly after. This is actually a secluded armory insert. This is the one that they have created, and I highly, highly recommend it. Secluded Armory sells kits for $5, where you get this piece here, which is the 3D printed head. It's a little more narrow than the black one that I showed you. You get the cap for that, which is a piece of foam that you literally just glue on using the contact cement. And then you get a second cap. They used to use gamma ball caps, but now they've gone to just this 4-pound layered foam, and the 4-pound layered foam together just kind of looks like this. So it's a very solid block when the two of them are glued together. This is 1 block, 2 block, and I've just glued this together because I'm going to make an arrow out of this. See, most recent, and I really like this, and the reason I like this is because the head of the arrow can't twist off. You can't. It's got so much contact here with the top of the arrow head that you can't twist it off. It's not going to bend or flex as some arrows do. And it has what's legal, which is the 2 inches of foam ahead of the shaft, and then your minimum ½ inch round at the end of the shaft. So let me describe what that means. In order to legally make an amp guard arrow, you have to have an arrow shaft with a minimum ½ inch blunted end. So you can, I mean, people have done all kinds of stuff to blunt ends. I just want to show you. People have done all kinds of stuff to blunt ends. This has been a common practice where you literally take duct tape in a roll and you roll it around the end of the shaft. My shaft happens to have a threaded insert in it. So it has threaded arrowheads, and you can see the old arrowheads here, and you can see that they are threaded on the back end. So those threads would just go into the shaft, and that would be normal arrow, but you take those out. So, but you need a ½ inch at this end. And these, what they have said in the rules is that you can do this by creating a block at the end of the shaft, and then blunting it with a washer or a penny at the end. And these washers are actually 5/8, so they're a little bigger than a ½ inch, but ½ inch is the requirement. And then beyond the shaft, beyond the blunted shaft, you need to have 2 inches of foam. So you have your shaft, you have your blunted shaft, you have your washer, and you have your 2 inches of foam. Okay? And traditionally, the washer would be screwed or glued or taped onto this, and then this would be glued or taped onto the head of your arrow. The problem with this design is that it's very wobbly. It's very, very wobbly. So what a lot of people have done is they have, and there's 100 videos, I'm not going to show them to you, I'm not going to tell you about it. They have built this up with foam, layers and layers and layers of foam and tape and foam and tape and foam and tape to make a very large, heavy arrowhead. Another reason why the secluded armory design is so nice is that it's super elegant. It's lightweight, it flies very good, and it's super ultra safe. Now, I have already bought a bunch of these, but as I was playing around with building arrows, I came up with a design that I think is totally legal, and I have confirmed that it's totally legal with a bunch of guys, but I haven't taken it to park yet, and it looks like this. Oh, and this is how you do your blunted shaft, in case you wanted to know. You take your roll of duct tape, you take your tape and you split it down the middle, and then you just inverse roll this. And when you're finished, you'll have a little extra over the end of this, and you just cut that off with a razor knife. I do everything with a razor knife. I cut circles with a razor knife. Some people say you can cut things with a tin can, and you can. So here is a trick for the day. This is a pop can, and the cut diameter of a pop can is 2.5 inches. Just going to say that for the record. So if you need something that's 2.5 inches, you can just take a pop can and cut it, and that pop can makes for a really great template for foam. Okay, makes really great template for foam because it's exactly 2.5 inches. All right, gamma balls are actually bigger than 2.5 inches. That being said, I don't generally do this, but this is a really good trick. It's cheap, it's easy, it's always 2.5 inches. Every pop can on the planet is the exact same. But what I use is this, and this is the lid to my spray can. And this is just a little bit bigger than 2.5 inches, just a touch bigger, but not bigger than the gamma ball. But it's a little bit bigger than 2.5 inches, which guarantees that my foam surface is going to be 2.5 inches round. And so what I'll do is I'll take this, I'll press it into the foam, which will create a circle, and then I just use a razor knife to cut that out. Okay, here's my design. I'm going to take my blunted shaft. I'm going to take a piece of EVA foam, an EVA foam disc that's 2.5 inches. And what I'm going to do with that EVA foam disc, is I'm going to cut a hole in it so that it fits over the tape on my blunted shaft, so that it fits over the tape like this. This is not necessary. It's absolutely just because I like it. It's also because I feel like it adds just a little bit of back protection on the washer. The washer comes next, so we're going to put a washer in here. I've actually got one already glued. To this unit here for future. But what we'll do is we're going to put a washer in here, like that. And then what I've done is I'm taking a screw, and this is a number 8 by 32 machine screw. It is the exact same screw that you would find in your cabinet drawer knobs. Like behind your drawer knobs, that's what this screw is. You can buy them at the Home Depot, big boxes of them. I get mine, I get longer ones for some of the work that we do, and I just happen to have a few laying around. So what I did is I just cut, I don't know if you can see it, I just cut the end of the shaft using my handy dandy pliers to make it the right length. So what I'm going to do is shaft, blunted, washer, backed with foam, and then there's this disc that I'm adding. This disc is a piece of laminate flooring. It's flexible, but not very flexible. It's shatter resistant. It's plastic on both sides, and it'll operate like a washer. I'm putting the metal washer in just for legality's sake, but this can also go in here as long as it is behind the foam, the 2 inches of foam of the head. So this is what this is going to look like. EVA, this washer is going to be here. Then I'm going to put this disc in here, and this winds up becoming safety zone. That's a 1/2 inch of foam around this vinyl disc. Then I'm going to take this through here, and this whole thing is going to get screwed into this shaft. Then after that happens, I'm going to glue this to that using that. And what winds up happening is that you wind up having an arrowhead. I have one finished here. Unfortunately, I covered. You have an arrowhead that's shaped like this. So you have, this is the duct tape. Okay, there's the duct tape. And then there's a piece of EVA foam right here. And in front of that EVA foam, there's the gap. In front of that EVA foam is the washer and the vinyl, and it is screwed into the arrow shaft. And now I am going to try and show you how this this arrow can't be twisted. It can't be turned very easily, and that's because there's so much tension in here from that. After I glue the two end pieces on, I have 2 inches of foam. I have a 1/2 inch of safety foam around that screw head. I have a blunted end here and the 1/2 inch blunted in there, but then that's also backed by the vinyl, the piece of vinyl plank. I've had 5 people tell me that this is a totally legal build, but we're gonna test it out at Park. And then what I did was I took some, you can see it actually through the fabric, I took some packing tape and I just did a packing tape deal over this whole head. So I packing taped from back here up over the head all the way around just to hold it together. This winds up being a very fantastic blunt for an arrow, and it's quite soft, and I think they're going to fly well. And it's not very heavy. It's about equivalent weight to the Secluded Armory arrows, and according to the rules, it should be totally legal. Now, I just happen to have a bunch of gamma ball heads, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these blunts, and I'm going to make, instead of having 2 blunts together like this, I'm going to do a blunt and a gamma ball so that they wind up matching, so they'll wind up matching in design my other arrows. Only instead of this piece, I'll have the duct tape, the washer, the vinyl, the screw, and then backed with a piece of EVA foam right there, and 2 inches of blunt on the end. I'll take some pictures and I'll post them with this video in the Facebook group. All right, so that's arrows. This has been a Regent Ramas recording. I'll finish my coffee and we'll see you guys next time.